Welcome to the Paul Chandler Show, everyone. I'm your host, Paul Chandler. In today's episode, we're going to be looking at kidney transplants, because transplanting an organ, no matter what organ it is very difficult and there's many steps involved. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. We'll be looking today on how we code kidney transplants. Welcome back, everyone. So in this episode, we're going to look at how we code kidney transplants. Now, no matter what organ that is being transplanted, heart, lungs, you name it, that there's always still just three basic concepts, or like three basic steps. Because you're not going to have one doctor do all three parts, because there's too much going on, and usually there's going to be two patients involved. Sometimes that they are next, like OR1, OR2 type thing, right next door to one another. Other times, though, the organ needs to be transported somewhere else. So the three steps that we're always going to have are the donor, the backbench, and the recipient. So we're talking about the donor part of it, then that is when the doctor is taking the kidney out of the patient. So for example, if you haven't quite noticed or don't know about me, I'm a Mountain Dew enthusiast. That's what we call ourselves. We don't like the term addicts, because saying we're Mountain Dew addict just has a little of a negative connotation to it. So we call ourselves enthusiasts. So it just sounds better. So now with that being said, I'm 40 years old. I've been a Mountain Dew enthusiast since I was 16. So it's been about 24 years or so. My kidneys are doing awesome, but let's say maybe one day that they're not. And maybe sometime in the future, I'll need a new kidney. Hey, guess who I'm gonna call? But the donor doctor, and I'll use the phrase Dr. Donor, Dr. Backbench, and Dr. Recipient. So I'll refer to the doctors by what position that they're in. Because Dr. Donor, he or she is just gonna be taking, in this case, the kidney out of the donor patient. Now, we'll see in a little bit when we look at the codes that the donor patient could either be a cadaver or a living donor. Cadaver donors can donate up to 2 because they're brain dead. Their organs are just being harvested for organ donation. If you're a living donor, I don't care how much you love somebody, you are going to keep at least one of your kidneys. We're normally born with 2, but you have to keep at least one. And then Dr. Backbench. Backbenching is what we call, so think of it as just cleaning out the organ. And so like in this case in the kidneys, the organ comes out and by Dr. Donor, and then Dr. Donor then gives the kidney to, say, Dr. Backbench, and Dr. Backbench is cleaning it up while Dr. Donor is closing up the donor patient. And backbenching, by the phrase cleaning it up, I simply don't mean that they just, put it in the sink and, go underneath the sink, get a bottle of bleach or, Windex, whatever happens to be down there, and, squirt, and that's not what I mean by cleaning. Cleaning it means, for one, taking all the body liquids out of the organ. For example, the kidney, taking any urine that's in the kidney out, and between the artery and the vein, at least one attached to each organ, taking the blood out of the blood vessel as well. So Dr. Backbench is just getting it all nice and cleaned up, and then Dr. Recipient, that doctor cuts open the recipient patient and then installs, inputs, whatever you want to call it, in this case, the kidney into the person who's going to get it, the recipient. Now, there are a few codes that we have that are only private to kidneys. And when we get to those, I'll mention those. But now, what we're doing on the board, though, is, again, because we have donor, backbench, and recipient. So we have DBR. So I'll be putting, in this case, a D over here, and then when we're discussing the donor codes. So this is not a modifier. It's not attached to the code itself, just distinguish between donor, backbench, and recipient. So as far as the kidneys go, we only have 2 codes dealing with the donor. We have 50300 and 50320. So looking at 50300, donor nephrectomy, so nephro, the prefix for kidney, and ectomy, excision. So we're taking out the kidney from the donor patient. It includes cold preservation. That would mean essentially putting it on ice for transport. Because like I mentioned a few moments ago, sometimes you have the donor patient and recipient patient. Donor patient may be an OR1, recipient patient may be an OR2, or in that case, it's not being put on ice. It's not having cold preservation, as they call it. It's just boop, 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 a couple feet over and it's going back in. But if the kidney or whatever organ is being transplanted is being transported around town, let me rephrase my verbiage. Across town, not around town. Around town just sounded like, hey, we're going on a joyride. That's not what we mean by that. But across town, from one hospital to the next, or maybe 100 miles away, get on a plane, whatever the situation is. So that's what we mean by cold preservation. So if the donor doctor needs to do that, it's built into the code. But then we have 50300 from cadaver donor, unilateral or bilateral. So it doesn't matter if it's doctor donor's taking out 1 kidney or 2. So just the one code, 50300. Remembering too that, and this is a rule across the board for CPT coding, that when we have a CPT code that says the phrase unilateral or bilateral built into the code, we never, ever, ever, never, ever add modifier 50 to it to make it bilateral, because the code itself is already bilateral in it. So yes, this is a BOGO. This is a buy one, get one free deal. If the donor doctor takes out 1 kidney from the cadaver patient, 50300. They take out 2 kidneys, 50300. That's it. Or 50320, taking the kidney out of a living donor. And also the description doesn't state 1 kidney or 2. But remember, like I said a few moments ago though, don't care how much you love somebody, if they need 2 kidneys, only give 1 to them, you're gonna keep 1 for yourself. So even though 50320 does not say the phrase unilateral or bilateral, it is unilateral because it's from a living donor. So we only have the 2 codes themselves for the donor. Now the backbenching, and some organs have more amount of codes than others. The backbenching codes though, some organs that are being transplanted, that is. Now the backbenching codes begin with 50323, and they have a range, and they go through 50329. So looking at these codes. Now notice though, we have 3 parent codes here, and we're talking about the first 2 parent codes first, because these parent codes are very wordy. 50323, backbench, standard, cadaver donor, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's boring. I don't care about a lot of that stuff in 50323. The only 3 words that I care about in 50323 are backbench, standard, and cadaver. That's it. Because the rest of 50323 is describing what is going on and what actually backbenching is. But just kind of keeping it kind of clean, cut, and dry here, 50323, backbench, standard, cadaver. So there's no extra work that Dr. Backbench has to do. The doctor is getting 1 kidney from the donor patient. They're just, again, in this case, they get taken out any urine that's in the kidney and removing any blood from the blood vessels. It's 50323. 50325, man, it's a very long, boring code description. Blah, 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 blah. All I care about in 50325 are, again, 3 magical keywords: backbench, standard, and living. That's all I care about. Because again, just like 50323 was, same thing in 50325. It's just going on and describing what backbenching is. So 50325, backbench, standard, living. The kidney came from a living donor, and Dr. Backbench is just doing the normal work of cleaning out any urine that's in the kidney and any blood vessels that have blood still in them, any artery or vein. So while the first 2 codes are just the standard, just removing the liquids and that's it, 50323, and 50325. Now though, in 50327, here we get unique a little bit because the Dr. Backbench, in this case still, because we're still in the B for backbenching range, Dr. Backbench is doing a little bit more work. Now 50327, a little bit less wordy. So it's backbench reconstruction for cadaver or living. So far we have the first two codes, 50323 and 50325, the standards, just cleaning it out and that's it. But the key word that we have in 50327, reconstruction. So essentially, we're having to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. So going back to 50327, backbench, reconstruction, cadaver or living donor, renal allograft prior to transplantation. 50327, we have venous anastomosis. 50328, we have arterial anastomosis. And 50329, the third one, we have ureteral anastomosis. So here, like I just said a few moments ago, Dr. Backbench is having to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. So looking at the codes here, what we mean by venous anastomosis, arterial anastomosis, and ureteral anastomosis. What that means is that for the venous, remember every organ has an artery and a vein, at least one each, to pump blood through it to keep the organ moving. So in 50327, venous anastomosis, so let's say my left fist here is the kidney, and when the doctor donor took the kidney out from the donor patient, the doctor accidentally didn't cut enough of the vein. So then when Dr. Backbench has it, he or she notices that, there's not enough vein attached there. So then Dr. Donor goes back, takes a little bit more of a vein out, and then gives that now it isn't hopefully not gonna be this long, that would be a really big mistake. But then, blue for veins. So then for 50327, the doctor is still cleaning all the organ out, but venous anastomosis, then the doctor is taking more of a vein from the donor patient that Dr. Donor took out and reattaching it to the kidney. 50328, same concept, but instead of a vein, it's an artery. Again, red for artery. The kidney was removed, but the Dr. Donor, made a boo-boo, did not remove enough of an artery out. So then Dr. Donor goes back, takes more of an artery, gives it to Dr. Backbench. Dr. Backbench takes the kidney and takes the artery and reattaches it to the kidney itself. And then 50329, the last code for Dr. Backbench, again, still just cleaning it out, but it said that we have ureteral anastomosis. So, going as far as the organ systems for the urinaries, we have the kidneys, and then from the kidneys, we have the ureters that are just like the tubing, the tunnel, if you will, down to the bladder. So in that case, for 50329, the Dr. Donor did not take enough of her ureter out, because that's one thing, body organs should be in the same kind of place. And so let's say, for example, I'm 6'1", and a friend of mine is 5'3". So we are 10 inches different. I'm 10 inches taller than he is. And let's say if that's my friend that I call, hey, I need a kidney one day, and if Dr. Donor removes the kidney, but then takes part of the ureter, but then how is it supposed to match up? Let's say if I need to have my right kidney removed and some of the ureter is removed, if I don't get enough ureter from the donor patient, instead of my kidneys being, say, here and here, if I don't have enough ureter and I'm having the right kidney replaced, then this kidney on the right side maybe end up down there, just because there's not enough ureter there. So then that's what we mean by 50329, that the kidney was removed. Unfortunately, not enough of a ureter was removed with it. So then Dr. Donor goes back to the donor patient, removes some of the ureter, and gives it to Dr. Backbench. So that way, when it's going to go in me, say if I'm the recipient, then they're going to be even up on that side. So while hopefully, most of the time we're just doing a 50323 or 50325, depending on if it's a cadaver donor for 50323 backbenching or a living donor 50325 backbenching. We do have those three codes if the doctor has to add more of a vein Dr. Backbench has to add more of a vein to the kidney, 50327, has to add more of an artery to the kidney, 50328, or add more of a ureter to the kidney to have it be evened up, 50329. Now, then the last part we're going to look at is backbenching. Now, I'm sorry, that was the second part, recipient. That's the third part we're going to look at. The last thing we're going to look at is the recipient. And here, these codes begin with 50340 through 50380. Now, some of these codes are unique to the kidneys, and that's part of the reason why when I'm teaching on transplants, I like to look at the kidneys. And when we get to those codes that are unique to the kidneys, I'll let you know. So first we have 50340, recipient nephrectomy, separate procedure. And then underneath that, for bilateral procedure, report 50340 with modifier 50. And remembering that the phrase separate procedure in parentheses, nice way of saying that is, that's all that we do. So looking at 50340, recipient nephrectomy. So if I'm the person who's supposed to be getting a kidney, say if I'm the recipient, nephrectomy, nephro, kidney, ectomy, excision. So the doctor is taking out my kidney and that's it. No, so in 50340, there's no notation of putting a new kidney in. Because so let's say if I have, well, I almost said the phrase, let's say I have two kidneys. I still do have my two kidneys I was born with. But so let's say my kidneys, two kidneys that I have, one is failing, one is not. And based on the, the testing of it, that say if the doctor thinks I can live okay with just one kidney. Then again, I'm picking on my right kidney for some reason. So let's say though that my right kidney is bad, and then having a good functioning kidney and a bad functioning kidney, that can cause more damage to the patient than just having one good one. Because with a good one and a bad one, your body wants to work with both. But think of it as if you have a good working car and a bad working car. You can only use that bad working car for so long before it's completely goes kaput and breaks down for good. So let's say maybe based on my age, my diet, whatever the situations are, I may not be high up on the donor list. But if my right kidney's failing, then they can take out my right kidney and that's it. And then everything on my body will be working off the left side. So that's an example of a 50340 with no modifiers. Or we do have though 50340 modifier 50, the parentheses note under that code, 50340. That says for bilateral procedure, report 50340 with modifier 50. And in that case, you have one doctor taking out both kidneys. Now, you cannot walk around town with no kidneys, but let's say that if we're going to do a 50340 modifier 50, one doctor taking out both kidneys, then you may have two recipient doctors working on this whole procedure here. You may have one recipient doctor taking out both kidneys, and then a new doctor coming in, putting in a kidney or two. So then we have looking at 50360, renal allo transplantation. And notice though it says allo transplantation, ALLO, for the second code in this group, 50360. So allo that means it's coming from one human, but it's not you, so from one other human. Implantation of graft without recipient nephrectomy. So 50360, we're putting in a new kidney, but the old kidney is already out. Because I'm not going to have two kidneys and then the doctor do a 50360 to give me a third kidney. Where humans, we have two kidneys at most and not three. So let's say if one doctor does a 50340 modifier 50, taking out both kidneys, and then another doctor comes in and puts in only one kidney, 50360. Or let's say today I have a 50340, no modifiers, just one kidney's taken out, 50340, and then say I get the phone call or text or bat signal, whatever, however the program that they're using uses it. And let's say I had a 50340 2 months ago, and today then I'm getting a 50360. I'm having the new kidney put in, but my old one's already out. Or one-stop shopping, old kidney out, new kidney in, same time, then we get 50365 with recipient nephrectomy. So again, 50365, old kidney out, new kidney in, same time, one-stop shopping. And then the last two codes that are in this group for the recipients, we have 50370 and 50380. Here, these codes are, for the most part, unique only to the kidneys, these type of concepts. Because we have 50370, removal of transplanted renal allograft. And you remember the prefixes, allograft versus, for example, autograft. So we have auto, A-U-T-O, graft, and allograft, A-L-L-O, graft. So an autograft, you're the donor and the recipient. Allograft is coming from another human. So 50370 is a lot like a 50340. The difference though is 50340, the kidney that's being removed is the one that you were born with. 50370, the kidney that's being removed, the allograft, that's the one that you had inputted into you, that you had donated and installed into you, like it's a computer program, and that kidney fails. If that kidney fails that you had received and then they take it out, they want to know, was it the one that you were born with? Or was it the one that you had transplanted into you, and it failed? Because no matter what type of organ that we're having implanted in ourselves, whenever a person goes through an organ transplant, your body subconsciously knows that it is not the one that you were born with. So even let's say my right kidney taken out at some point and a new one put in, it's a human kidney, but my body wants to do this whole, I believe it's Lost in Space, if I'm remembering my old TV shows correctly. Not the film with Matt LeBlanc that we'll just pretend was never, ever made, but the short, round head robot, the Danger Robinson, that robot. Your body will do that when it has an organ transplanted into it. Because it's thinking, okay, this is not the one I was born with, and it's singing Lady Gaga's Born This Way all the time. It's like, hey, I'm born this way with this kidney, and now danger, this different one's in here. So when a patient has an organ transplanted, they are given a medication regimen to try to quote unquote like kind of trick your body, but it can still be rejected. So if they take out the rejected kidney, 50370. Now the last code is actually one of my favorite ones because it's pretty cool, this procedure. We have the renal autotransplantation reimplantation of kidney. So again, 50380. So going with that prefix auto, A-U-T-O, how it is you are the patient, you are the donor, you are the recipient. So in a 50380, the last code in the recipient section, you are self-donating your own kidney. And what that means is, so let's say that we have, you have your right kidney and the ureter, and then you have your left kidney and the ureter, and then the bladder and everything down there. Well, let's say that something happens, maybe an injury or just genetics or something happens, and let's say you have a good kidney, your left one, but you have a good ureter, your right one. So something happens where one of your kidneys fails or is having issues, infected or whatnot, but you have one good kidney on one side and one good ureter on the other side. So what they'll do is they'll take the bad kidney out, and then they'll take the bad ureter out all the way. But now you have a good working kidney and a good working ureter just on the wrong side. So then they'll take, in this case, the kidney, let's say off from the left side, and then move it over to your right side. That's what we mean by a 50380. Renal autotransplantation, reimplantation of kidney. Because in this case, your body does not know the difference between left and right, as far as laterality for organs. So in this case, for the most part, the only issue why something like this would fail, because again, your body's not going to know, okay, this kidney was over here, now it's over there, danger, it's not going to do that. But what can happen though is, at that reconnection point, where the kidney is reconnected to the ureter, that is something that could be infected or or could be damaged, that could cause the kidney to fail. But besides that, moving it over, you're donating to yourself. So again, so now that's one of the unique things to us also to the kidneys, because for example, you cannot self-donate your own heart. They cannot take out your heart and just flip it around and put it back in. Doesn't work that way. Your left lung has 2 lobes, your right lung has 3 lobes. They cannot take out your left lung, take out your right lung, and then move your right lung over to the left side. They're not symmetrical. Again, 2 lobes on the left, 3 lobes on the right. Your kidneys do have that ability there. And so that's how you do coding on the kidney transplants. And just to kind of recap a little bit, that how the transplanting is done, it's the same no matter what organ that we're dealing with. And all organs will have the donor section. That's the doctor donor taking the organ out of the donor patient. Dr. Backbench, which is the doctor that cleans up the organs and take out any bodily liquids, any blood out of the blood vessels. And then Dr. Recipient puts it into the new patient there. And so from all the cast and crew here of the Paul Chandler Show, we do thank you for watching. And I just reminder for everyone that we're not done yet with COVID-19. It is still out there. Yes, people are starting to get the vaccine. So remember to mask up still and keep social distancing. And again, on behalf of all the cast and crew here of the Paul Chandler Show, we thank you for watching. Live long, do good, and prosper.